When was your last test, Serena?
My last test?
Pregnancy test, pet. When did you last test?
Maybe,
Weeks and weeks ago?
yeah, like 2 months ago.
Okay. So there's a pregnancy sac, but there's no little baby in it, Harry.
A very good morning from Mamatara, Glasgow, Scotland. It has been a while. Mamatara is back. I know I always say that every time I go and then I stay away for so long from this channel. I come back and I'm like, Mamatara is back. Anyway, Mamatara is here in good health, body, mind, and soul in the correct space. Mamatara is full swing, bang on, present, and she's here. So with all this excitement, actually today we will be talking about a very sensitive topic, and this is an experience that I went through in the year 2020 and 2021. So Mama, the reason why I call myself Mama Watoro is because I have two beautiful children, and thing is, I always wanted to be a mom. I always wanted to be a mom. I don't know about you, I don't know about other people, but people get children in different ways. Some people just found themselves in situations. Some really didn't want to have children because we come from a society where from the time we are very young, it is assumed that everybody wants to have a child. Every woman or man wants to have a child. But that might not be the case with other people. Well, for me, Mama Toro, Herina, I knew that I always wanted to have children. And I loved children. From a very young age, I used to babysit for a lot of people around us. I lived in an estate when I was young, and so I would be the one to be called to look after people's children or feed them or do different things with kids. So I've always loved children. But on the other hand, so I wanted to have children on my own, desperately wanted to have children on my own. And being a mom can teach us quite a lot. I have learned a lot during this journey of motherhood. Oh my goodness. So I grew up and I became a mom in the year 2005. That was after I had finished my university and I was working, and I think I'd been working for a year or so when I became pregnant. And I got pregnant under the most unusual circumstances. And when I found out that I was pregnant, I was excited. Like, I was really, really, really excited. I was happy. From the very word go, I was so happy. And I remember that during that time, I had a neighbor who had a child, and her child was always so happy. She was about 2 years old, and I asked her, what is the secret to having a happy child? And she told me that the one secret to having a very bubbly, happy child is to be happy during your pregnancy. So yeah, I was with my pregnancy, very happy through the 9 months. I am one of those people who are blessed to have had two healthy pregnancies. Actually, during my pregnancies, I think I might have just a bit of morning sickness in the first 3 months, which I think is normal. Some people don't have morning sickness, but it's normal to have morning sickness. And then it sort of eases off in the month 4, 5 months. And then I'll be eating a storm. I'll have a good appetite. I'll have my cravings. I'll be pumping in all the healthy things. So yeah, I'm one of those people who was blessed and lucky with my first pregnancy, which went all the way to 40 weeks plus. And then I delivered a healthy, beautiful baby girl. And that was my first pregnancy. So that was the beginning of my journey on being a mom. So I raised my child for about almost 10 years, 9 to 10 years before the second child came along. So the second child came along, but in that 9 years, we had such wonderful times together with my first child. And then I really, really wanted to have another child, actually other children. But due to circumstances that I will talk about in other videos, maybe in the future, that was delayed by all those years. And then I got my second child in the year 2015. So we're talking 10 years age difference. And my first child had always wanted a sibling. So she kept pestering me. If you're a mom and you have one child, then you know the drill. Mommy, when are we having another child? When am I having a sister? She specifically wanted a sister. So sister came along in 2015. The pregnancy was okay, not like the first one. There was a bit of issues here and there. Just I think it's usual for women that age, because I was 36 years. I think about 36 when I had my second child. So, high risk, because the older you get, the more these things. But I wanted to have a child, and I knew my biological clock was ticking. It is better to have them young, but here I was pregnant, and then went all the way to 38 weeks. And then I chose to have an induction due to some circumstances the doctor suggested, and I was exhausted. So I said, of course, I'll be in. By God's grace, the child was born, a beautiful, healthy, bouncing baby girl. Again, 2 girls. And the labor didn't last very long. I think with her, I labored for just like an hour. With my firstborn, it was a different story. It took about a whole night, almost over 10 hours of labor. But I was with my mom in the hospital, and my mom is a nurse and a midwife at that. So she was big help. Anyway, 2 beautiful, healthy girls. So fast forward, I moved to Glasgow in the year 2019, late 2019, just before COVID. And I wanted to have more children. I was excited. I wanted to expand my family. My little one is growing. And by the time she was 5, she got to that age where she started asking for a sibling. They do. Children do. Most at least do. So I'm getting ready, but I'm racing against time, because then I'm now 36, 37, 38. In fact, I know by the time I got to Glasgow, I was already 40. I got here when I was 40. So we don't even have time, guys. We don't even have time. This pregnancy needs to happen, and it needs to happen now, because then I'm getting old. I'm getting older. So when am I going to take care of these kids? So I came into Glasgow 2019, November, and then in 2020, June, July, I was pregnant with my 3rd child. So I had a pregnancy test, and we were all so excited. Both my girls are excited. We are looking forward to having the baby. And the way I operate, the minute I find out I'm pregnant, I'm attached, I'm overjoyed, I am happy. I start, I've already thought of names. In fact, as we speak, I have lots of names written down on my notes on my phone. So yeah, one of those. I get excited. So the pregnancy started on a normal note. Like, again, the way my body works, the minute I'm pregnant, I will know. It doesn't even take a week. My body is just going to change when pregnancy comes. So it's the usual morning sickness, the baby bump is growing, we're all getting excited. And then here in the UK, you are scheduled to go in for your first scan and appointment, I think at 12 weeks. So I phoned my GP, went to see my midwives, or I don't know if that's what they're called, the nurse. And then they ran the test, the blood test and everything. So week 12, because it was during COVID, July 2020, yeah, I'm not able to go in with my spouse or the children. So I go to the hospital, and I'm going in for my first scan. Remember, I have had 2 healthy pregnancies. So, this should be a breeze, right? You know how it goes. You know the drill. So I'm going in for my scan, and I walk into the room. I lie down, and the nurse comes up with the monitor and everything, and the scan's going on. She's scanning away, and I'm happy. I'm just waiting for that first heartbeat. And then what happens is the nurse asks me,
when was your last test, Serena?
my last test?
Pregnancy test, pet. When did you last test?
Maybe
weeks and weeks ago?
Yeah, like 2 months ago.
Okay. So there's a pregnancy sac, but there's no little baby in it, Irina.
When was the last time that I had a pregnancy test? And I'm like, maybe, 2 months ago at the beginning of the pregnancy, because you already have had a test. You're feeling the morning sickness. Your belly is growing. So things are progressing. And then she looks at me, and she is like, I am so sorry. There is a sac, but we can't hear a heartbeat. My heart dropped. My heart double dropped. That is one of the worst words, the worst sentences that I've had in my life. There is no heartbeat. Goodness, I was in shock. To say my world stopped is an understatement. I didn't even know what to do. I quickly collected myself because, again, I'm not the kind of person who breaks down in tears and cries in situations. I'm shocked, but then I collect myself and then I tell myself, it is what it is. So during tough situations, I just call myself in a meeting in the headmistress's office and I'm like, this is it, Herina. Pick yourself and gather yourself up because this is the news. So the nurse calls in somebody else. I think they have somebody else do a second check just in case. And the person is like, yes, the same. Actually, I have an entire video because I was filming, I wanted to film that session for my family back at home and my children because they're not able to come in. And the camera just went blank. I think at that point, I just dropped the camera from the screen and I have the recording and it's just now in blank. I can hear the nurses talking in the background.
Okay. I'm going to take some measurements and then we'll have a wee look. Nothing going on. You're not feeling any pain in your tummy or anything
No,
like that? Okay.
just the normal nausea. And so we are going from having a pregnancy and thinking that looking forward to having a baby in, I think the baby was meant to come in March or April in 2021. And now here we are being told that I need to come in because I did not, no bleeding, no spotting, no nothing. There was no signs to show that this pregnancy had stopped. So I was told that the baby had stopped growing a few weeks ago, maybe at week 9, and we are at week 12. So for 3 weeks, I've been walking around carrying a dead fetus in my uterus, and I did not know it. The pregnancy symptoms were still ongoing as usual. Zero indication that the fetus had died. So the shock. So I had to come back into the hospital, I think about a week. So I was given the option of either going home and having the process, the natural process, take course, and then the fetus would, at this point now, it's a fetus. We have moved from a baby, we even had the baby name, and now we are referring to it as a fetus. And either it comes out naturally or I come back to the hospital and have a DNC. If you're a woman, you know, or a man, men who follow this, you know, some men follow the pregnancy processes with their partners. So it's at this point DNC. So I'm supposed to come in and they will give me the pills to open the cervix so that the baby can evacuate the uterus. Shock, 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 shock. So I went back home and I was so heartbroken. I was so heartbroken. I'm not even gonna, like, leave alone telling my kids, myself, like, I had never thought that something like this would happen to me, which is really weird. You know, when you've had 2 healthy pregnancies, how in the world would you think? I always thought that I was one of those people who was able to naturally just carry children to term. And then after 2, so that happened and I went back home and this was the most gruesome thing. The DNC, the process, coming back to the hospital a week later. I mean, just the entire week sitting at home and knowing that I'm pregnant and the baby is dead inside me. And then I came back and I went to the hospital overnight and I was given the pills to open the cervix, and then the process began. The labor pains came in. It was the most lonely time of my life and so much pain just sitting there going through all this and knowing that you leave the hospital without your baby and you're in the maternity wing. Anyway, I think around that time in my life, I was praying so much. And to this date, I think 3 months prior to that, I was in deep prayer mode. And to this day, I believe that those prayers took me through. They gave me strength. And at my very weakest, I became strong. So I don't know the exact Bible verse. I wish I'd checked it before I sat down, but there's a Bible verse that says that, you know, when I'm weak, then I am strong. I believe that, I mean, it is God. Jehovah was with me during that time, and it was just, I saw God's hand because it wasn't a smooth process. There was a bit of complications, of a bleeding and everything. It was quickly turning into an emergency situation. After a couple of hours, then they managed to arrest the situation, and then so I had a very rough night, but we finally managed to get everything under control at about 1:30 in the night or so. So I actually just had a shower. I feel so much better. We're here and you're feeling much better. Jehovah is good. Jehovah is so good. So this is the bathroom. I just had a shower, and that's the toilet. So finally in a good place, and it seems like I'll be going home today. I'm so happy. It's been rough, but by faith we have done it. So I'll just wait and see what the doctor says. But I think that is the last bit of whatever was left in the body. So just waiting to go home and love on my Zuri. I'm so grateful for the turn of events, because at some point I was slightly worried, but I had put my trust and faith in Jehovah that everything will be okay. So here we are. We're going to wait for the doctor and see what the doctor says, but it should be good news. 8th July to 9th July. Whoa. Next day, I got out of the hospital without my baby, going home to tell my almost 6-year-old that we were not going to have a sibling. How to explain that to a child? So that was really, really, really traumatic. And then I healed from that experience. It took a while, and then I think the next year, September, after a whole year plus, I became pregnant again in 2021 September. So here I was, Mama Toro, very excited but afraid. You know, once you go through a traumatic experience in pregnancy, it's never the same. It scars you. And so the confidence that I had during the first time, that confidence was not there. I'm praying, I have faith, and I want to, when I have faith, I have very strong faith. So I want to believe that this pregnancy is going to be different. Everything is going to be okay. So we start off very well, and we went through month 1, month 2. We are eating healthy. We are doing everything that we can. We've made my appointment. The excitement has checked in. You want to be excited, but at the same time, you are sort of holding on. You know, you're holding back because you don't want to get all involved and then things don't happen again. Anyway, so I went in for I got to around 12 weeks. Then I started sporting. And then I was like, oh my goodness, now what? But this time restrictions had eased up. So we were able to go in with our partners to the hospital. So first day sporting, the second day sporting, and then I started having cramps, like period cramps. And I was like, nah, no, it can't be. Remember the first one, I didn't go through all this. I was only informed that I had miscarried the baby during the scan. But this second time, the symptoms checked in, and then I phoned the hospital. And then by the time, did I even get there? Yeah, by the time before even I went there, I went to the bathroom and the clots came down. The baby just washed off. So if you've gone through a miscarriage, then you know what I'm talking about. And I'm so sorry for all the women who've had miscarriages, even all the partners who were involved in the pregnancies. It is an emotional drain, an emotional turmoil. So that is how I lost my second child. By the time I was going into the hospital, I went for a scan and I was told the same thing. There was a pregnancy, but this time they could see that the uterus was shedding off. So it seems like the pregnancy did not hold and everything came down. So again, the hospitals here are different because they are very supportive. They are very understanding during the whole process. They will apologize for your loss. And I remember when I had my first loss, they actually asked me if I wanted to take the remains, what was coming off the uterus, with me, or to bury, or did I want to leave it at the hospital? And they have a memorial garden here. It's called the Craig Memorial Garden. I've never been there. I promise one day I'll go there. And they take all the remains, like all the children, the unborn children. I think they put together and then they're cremated, and the ashes and then sprinkled in the Craig Memorial Garden, which I thought was a beautiful way to remember these children. And then the second time, nurses were very supportive. They will talk to you. They will acknowledge your loss. You know, they recognize that you were carrying a child. This was life inside you, and they treat it as a loss. On the other hand, I don't want this video to be too long. I think it's already running 17 minutes. If you know anybody who's had a miscarriage, people, you need to know that they have lost someone. And most people would be like, nah, it's okay, it happens, you're going to have another child. This was also a child. Another child is not going to be the same child. If you have children, your firstborn is not your secondborn or your thirdborn or your fourthborn. Each individual is unique. And so I think that people really need to read more or watch more videos on miscarriages. If anybody around you has gone through a miscarriage, support them, be there for them, know that they're going through a loss, and don't go around telling them that it's okay, you're going to get another baby, you're going to be pregnant again. Because having gone through 2 miscarriages showed me that life is so precious, and there is no guarantee that when you're pregnant, you will go home with a baby. So if I have gone home with 2 babies, it was just God's blessing, and I am so grateful for my children. I think I finally got to a point in my life where I told myself that it is okay. The way people have dreams to be rich and the way people have dreams to travel, my dream was to have children. So it was a big part of my life, and I finally let go and I said, God, thank you. Let me be grateful for the 2 children that I have, because I know that there are women out there who want to have children, but for some reasons they cannot have children. So I'm grateful for my children, and I would have wanted to have more, but I'm grateful for the 2. And now I sit back and tell God that, you know what? I am Mama Watoro. I am a mother, and I have been a mother to many people, and they do not have to be my children. I know that one day I will still continue fully fulfilling thy promise of being a mom, the dream of being a mom through many other children across the world. So that is my story on loss and miscarriage. I am so sorry if you've ever experienced a miscarriage. Do not be discouraged. God still has a plan for you, and I believe that if you're still trying, your rainbow baby will come, your miracle will still come, and you will leave the hospital with a baby one day. We don't know when, but it will come. Keep believing and keep being in the best mental space, because loss can be very difficult. Thank you for listening again, and it's Mama Watoro Oriti.